Hello, welcome. Welcome to Body Spirit, Shine, Mind, Body, Spirit. We've got Fiona Kennedy here with us today, and we're going to be talking about all things and intuition. So welcome, Fiona. So great to have you.
Hello, how are you all? And I'm very, very happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Fiona, we'd love to know a little bit more about you. Tell us a little bit about you and your work.
Well, I'm a painter, artist, I guess, and I work on really large-scale contemporary oil paintings. I use other mediums with these paintings, so it gives it different dimensions, but ultimately they're all original oil paintings on quite a large scale. And I try and tell a story through my paintings of life, but it's always through nature. And I use a lot of symbolism and emotion and create stories that resonate with people and our hearts.
Nice, nice. So when you say you connect with nature, what inspires you most in nature for your work?
Well, everything. We're all a part of nature, and if we can all just maybe take our shoes off and walk in the dirt, you feel really grounded and connected. And the minute you do that, it really, you're letting go of a lot of things. And I find that nature really speaks to me in certain ways, and things like even like little creatures like ants, bugs, ladybirds, anything tiny, anything huge, that they all live a certain way in their own habitat. And that habitat is actually telling us a story of how they live. And if we often reflect back in the way that they live into our own life, there's always a message. And it's either a reminder or a real eye-opening message that really helps you deal with whatever it is that you're dealing with in life.
I feel in nature we're all connected, from the smallest creatures to the largest creatures. So that's what I'm getting from you, that we're all connected in some ways. And
definitely.
Mind, Body, Spirit, we're very much about nature as well, connecting in with the seasons. Do you feel that as well, seasonally, in your work?
Oh, do I feel the season? Or do I connect with the season?
Connect with the season in your work.
Oh, definitely. It's because the seasons create different colours, and they create different moods, and they also create different emotions. So when, particularly if you're in winter and it's really dark and dull, I will actually walk along the beach and see deep, beautiful purples and dark Parisian blues and deep sea viridian greens. And it's those colours for winter that really inspire me for those really deep emotional paintings where you really need to kind of like cuddle up and feel warm. And then in something like a spring or an early summer, you get the really light pale blues and pinks and oranges and flashes of red because of all the flowers and the blossoms. So and they do something to your emotions too. So the colours in the different seasons are a really huge inspiration.
That's beautiful. That's
I would love to. I just got this beautiful image of the beach, inspiration. Is that your process of things when you're drawing, painting, or do you want to talk us through the process of how, outside of that inspiration for nature, how does then that start to come out on the canvas?
So how does it translate into a painting?
Yeah, what's the process? How does it
for me and my painting process, it is actually, it's more of a really strong visual image that I get with my work. And when it comes on really strong, I can actually see the final painting before I've even done anything with it. So it's that really strong connection and the image that I get that I need to really desperately create, because it's just, oh my God, that's just so amazing. I'm going to have to paint that. that's all in my head. So it's what I do is then I quickly sketch it out into my visual diary, and it becomes like a little tiny sketch. And then from that sketch, I might leave it for a while and I might paint it later on down the track. Or if I feel like that painting really needs to be put forward, then I'll paint it straight away. So, but I always use that sketch as like a little resource and a reminder of that moment when I captured it in my mind. So that's kind of how it works for me. Other times I've started with a painting and it's kind of developed on its own way, and I felt like I was just the tool to get it to where it needed to go, if that makes sense. So it does vary, but for me it is a very strong image that I normally comes to me. And there's always a reason why.
What's the current work that you're working on now, Fiona?
It's called White Parrots, Flying Frogs and White Parrots, and it's actually a really beautiful love story, and it's a story of how two people met in a storm, and the storm created nature to really speak and show these two that they were actually destined to be together. And that's why there are flying frogs everywhere and white parrots everywhere, and a blossoming coastline. So the frogs in this particular piece represent cleansing, so they had to be reminded that sometimes when you let go of one part of your life, you actually need to cleanse yourself from that, and it's okay to kind of like just pour your emotions out. And the frogs are there. The frogs came to them, and it was a reminder for them to do that, and it's okay to do that. And then the white parrots came in as like this magic force, just reminding them to find their joy and stay in their joy, because together they will be able to do anything. So the painting is a very special romantic piece about a storm.
And I notice there's a lot of swells in your work as well. Does that represent something in your work?
Definitely. Yeah, the spiral is an incredibly strong symbol in all of my artwork. For me, it represents, the spiral is a universal symbol of life. But for me as well, it's also in my work a symbol of being able to rise above and see things from a completely different perspective. And if we keep our mind open to the bigger picture and not like see things from face value all the time, see things from a different perspective, we'll see life completely differently. So the spiral for me, it's when a eagle flies, he flies upwards, but he spirals upwards. So if we see life like an eagle, he kind of sees things from a really high perspective. So he gets to see everything. And if we see things a little bit the same, then we won't really sweat the small stuff down at face value. That's what spiral means.
Yeah, nice perspective. And so you use quite a few different animals in your artwork. So each animal represents a different meaning. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. So it's like what I was saying before about nature and how nature talks to us. And each little creature lives and breathes in its own little habitat. They have their own little system, they have their own little way of living, and they have their own way of building their home. So what they represent, and if they come into your life and you notice them and you're drawn to that particular creature, they're often reflecting back something to you. So what I do is I tell that story through my painting. So if it was something like a flying fish or flying turtles or any of those kinds of things, I do a lot of turtles, so I'll use that as an example. Turtles in their own habitat cruise the currents of the sea. They roll with patterns, they're slow, they're really cruisy creatures, so they'll actually, they can actually see a lot that's going on right in front of them because they're slower. They're not pacing, they're not racing, they're just rolling with the patterns. So if we do a similar thing like the turtle and just stop and take stock of what's going on around us, we'll appreciate everything that's right in front of us. And in turn, appreciation leads to gratitude, and gratitude every day, finding something that you're grateful for every day leads to your happiness. So to me, that symbol of the turtle in my work will represent happiness, because it's teaching you to slow down and appreciate what's right in front of you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's so beautiful to
Thank you.
all the meaning that is attached to art. It gives a whole other story. Even reading about a story of a piece of an artist, of their art, it's really beautiful. How long can you that working on at the moment?
How long would that take?
Yeah.
It's taken me about 8 weeks so far. This one's taking a little bit longer because there's a lot of detail in a lot of the different areas. I really wanted to try and make each bird have its own character. So if you get a chance to see the original, you'll find that each eye's different, or each like facial expression's different, and you know the way that they're moving their body is in a completely different flight kind of pattern. So it kind of gives them all different characters, and so that because of that, that has taken me a little bit longer with this piece. But yeah, roughly the big ones, they normally take me about 6 to 8 weeks to complete from sketch to finish painting. So this is my sketchbook. I'll show you the sketch.
Oh, wow.
I love
Beautiful.
This is what I work with my ideas. So when we were saying before that I use a visual diary, this is my visual diary, and it is my resource book. So when I think of the things that I want to paint or feel, I'll put it into this book. So each page is one of the original paintings. So this is where it has started first, and then it has gone into that really large form, like what I've got behind me. Can you see?
Nice.
Stunning.
Yeah.
Wow.
I bet that book is very, very, very special.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find, this is the sketch that I did. Sorry. For this painting behind me. Yeah, so it comes in this kind of form first, and then goes out onto a big canvas. But and then it takes about 8 weeks.
I'm curious, Fiona, when you say the image comes to you first, can you explain to us a bit more of that process?
Yeah, well, that's my creative flow. Like that's where it all kind of starts for me, and for me, it really is just a natural process. It's something where I find if I've got a lot of clarity, if there's too much going on and, you know, I'm being a bit domestic, or like, you know, I'm doing dishes or any of those kinds of things, and it's quite a methodical process, like, you know, doing one thing after the other a lot. Sometimes images will come to me like that, which is really weird, but often it's, it really is at really different parts. I could wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I will wake up to an image in my mind. But most of the time, it really is, I feel like it's, this is how I could explain it, which is really hard to explain because it's an internal process, but it's like a river. So I'm tapping into a river that's like a creative flow. And when I do that, I go into a completely different way of thinking, and I'm actually completely using instinct. I'm not using anything else. I'm not using force, manipulation, anything that I feel I manipulate or try and force just won't work. It'll never work. So I find I've just got to let go and trust my instincts with that creative flow. So as soon as I do that, then everything just falls into place. I don't know whether it makes sense. It's kind of the easiest way I can explain it.
Yeah, and it's totally fitting with our topic of intuition and getting to a sense that is outside of or deep outside of the 5 senses that we have. It's something that is quite difficult to explain.
Well, to just reiterate on that intuition that you're talking about, that's a really important part of my work. And as much as that's the creative flow, that is also intuitive to actually tap into that creative flow. And I find that when I'm doing commission pieces for people, when I'm actually specifically working with other people for a painting, that's when that intuition really comes in very, very strongly. And I feel, you can kind of get a feel of people's energy. I don't know whether everybody can do that or it's just me, but it's like you feel really, it's a sensitivity with me that I pick up on people's stuff. And I can read people as soon as they walk in the door because they let off a certain energy. And for me, I tap into that. Like I tap into that when I'm actually working with people with paintings, because that helps me really understand who those people are. And that's how I pick up on different things and create a painting specifically for them and pick up on their story. And they don't necessarily have to tell me a whole lot. They just need to, just tell me a few little things, and I kind of get an idea of who they are as a person. So essentially it will be the essence of them in the painting, not so much physically representation, like a proper representation, but it is an essence of their life in that painting.
Beautiful. It sounds you are extremely intuitively gifted, and your art is an expression of those sensitivities that you feel, and it's really beautiful. Have you always seen the world? Like, have you always had a deep connection to nature and
yeah.
creative?
Yeah, I think so. As a child, I was always wanting to be outdoors. I've always been really very, very sensitive. Sensitive to people's feelings and sensitive to situations and sensitive to energies and things like that. But I was kind of a little bit brought up to think that wasn't a strong person. Like I was too sensitive. So it was, as growing up, it was more you were really emotional, and it was a misunderstanding. So I've learned that that sensitivity is a gift, and it's not. It is definitely not weakness. It is a complete strength, and it's only, that really has only really dawned on me over the last 5-10 years, I guess, that sensitivity in a person is actually a strength.
Absolutely. And
question then. What was the question?
No, it's absolutely very articulated. You're making a lot of sense. So have you always been interested, like have you always been, or was it something that came in later in life, or how did you come about?
Sorry, the artistic process, did you say?
Yeah, just even, did you paint when you were younger, when you were a child, where, the process, I suppose, how did you come to be a painter, and how is this?
Well, yeah, I was creative. My father is very creative. He wouldn't call himself an artist, but I call him an artist. But he never took it on as a profession. So he does it as a hobby, and he loves creating. So and he still does. He's like 85, and he still loves to create things. But he doesn't see himself in that light. And my grandmother, who I never met, was a painter. And she was just incredible. Some of her work is absolutely unbelievable. But I never got to meet her because she died when my dad was 16. So there is that. I did have that connection as a child in art and creativity, but it was hard because I was part of a very big family. So you kind of just survive in a big family, and my parents they did everything they possibly could to make each one of us, there's 9 of us, each one of us follow our dreams, our passions. And mine was art. Everybody else's was different, but of mine was definitely art. So they encouraged me to go to school and follow my artistic appreciations. And so I did. But there I was actually told that I shouldn't paint because I wasn't any good at it. So it was it wasn't a, you know, now it's not, looking back, it actually isn't a negative, it isn't a negative experience for me. It was actually a blessing for me that teacher told me that, because when I went off to university, I studied drawing and clay, and they were my majors, and I loved being tactile with clay, but I knew that it wasn't my passion. And as much as I loved it, I knew that there was something else. And so it wasn't until I discovered Inverloch all over again and moved here and opened up my first studio that I decided to pick up a paintbrush. And I remembered what that teacher had told me, and I thought, you know what, there is not one single person on this planet that could possibly ever tell me what to do anymore. So I decided to pick up the paintbrush, disregard any criticism or backlash or telling me that I can't do it from anyone, and just do it. And when I did, it was like a floodgate, and there were just so many things that I could paint, and so many things that I can paint, and so many things to paint. So it was, and I feel like I'll be still painting till I'm 99, because there will be so much that I need to share through paint.
Yes.
So that's kind of from childhood to discovering paint. So that was probably my it was my mid-30s.
Great. And so when you tap in intuitively to your ideas, inspiration, you're not really forward planning your next piece. It's just allowing that to come through at its own time. So have you got a lot of things going on at the same time in your mind, or is it's just...
No, I concentrate on one at a time, because I feel like I need to throw that complete 100% energy into that piece. And I think that's what gives it the magic, because it's you as an artist and being sensitive, you are putting that energy into something and creating it. So if I was to have like 5 or 6 different pieces on the go, it would just be like, why am I doing that? Like it doesn't make sense to me, because it just you scattered your energy to start with, and you are just creating to make a big production line of things, which is not that's not the purpose. The purpose is to create one piece of magic, and so that's what I do each time.
How do you know, and it might be a few things, how do you know when a painting is
finished?
Yeah,
I just know. It's one of those things. I just look at it and say, yep, that's my last bit of paint for that bit, and that's it. Yeah, it's just, I don't know how I know, but it just, I feel like it's completed.
Is it a sense of, like, you feel that you're coming to completion?
Yeah, I guess so. There is definitely a journey with the painting. So there's a journey from the start where I've all of a sudden you just have to sketch this little thing out in your book, to sitting back and saying, okay, this piece is nearly finished. What do I have to do to get it finished? So, and through the middle parts, it's like that's when you are throwing all your energy into it. So you do come to a point where you're looking back at it and saying, okay, there's little bits and pieces here, but I'm actually starting to disconnect from that painting. So I do actually end up disconnecting from it, because I know that it's not for me, it's for someone else. So it's a painting with purpose. So, but in the whole process, I'm actually completely connected to it. So I do feel like I am disconnecting from it. That's when I know that I'm finished.
Yeah, I love that. And it must be quite wonderful to have in your gallery, your painting on the wall, from a buyer's perspective too, and someone that it's like an immediate connection to a particular because it's a feeling, motive. Do you find that people come in and they're attracted to a certain
Definitely, definitely. And there's, I don't think there's one person that hasn't walked in to visualize or to see the work and they haven't emotionally connected to something.
Yeah.
And it's so weird how some people actually connect so much that I've had so many people stand in front of some particular paintings and have just burst into tears because they've resonated with it on such a deep level. Other people, and it also depends on the depth of someone too. So if you are a connected, if you feel like you are a connected deep soul, then you will probably connect a lot deeper because you can see you can see what's behind the painting, not just what's right in front of you, if that makes any sense. So there is a lot of people that do that, but then there's other people that will come in and they just love the colour, or they love their favourite creature in it, or something like that. But yeah, it does vary, but yeah, it gives me such a sense of pleasure and accomplishment really to see people's reactions to the paintings.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Yeah, wonderful. Charlotte actually did have a question about accomplishment in terms of wondering what you felt was your biggest accomplishment as an artist.
As an artist, well, I was going to say first, as probably a mother is my greatest accomplishment, having three gorgeous. But as in my artistic world and life, I actually think it is the accomplishment that someone has actually stood in front of my work and burst into tears. That to me speaks so much volume than any reaction or any award or any amount of money. That would have to be my. I love that. I love that people can cry in front of my work.
Yeah, part of your tribe.
It's very special.
Yeah, that's it. And so you have 3 children, Fiona. You have 3 children, is that right?
Yes, I do.
Yes, and are they also creative like yourself?
They've all got really creative minds. They all bring something incredibly unique to this world. So they're all very special that way, yes, but not visual artists. They're very creative thinkers.
Beautiful, good. And are they also your inspiration in your work?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. They're it just comes out so naturally. It's what you love and what you are drawn to, and the things that are important to you in your life. Those things come out naturally in my work. So being an Australian female artist, the women are quite predominant in my work. So I think that's because I've got two gorgeous daughters and 5 amazing sisters, and being surrounded by a lot of female energy and my love of nature, the two combine, and that's kind of what comes out naturally. So yeah.
So I'm interested. Tell me a bit more about that feminine connection. Is that something that you're very focused on, that you'd love to empower women through?
Focused, I'm sorry, what was the last bit?
In terms of empowering women, is that a focus of yours in your work as well?
Well, I think just empowering people with stories is more my focus. And it's the stories of life and the emotions that we feel. So that is the crunch of my artwork. It is trying to send a message of hope, compassion, empathy, understanding, love, positivity, all those things. I want those messages to be part of your life when you have a piece of my artwork. And the women in it, like I said, it's more, some of them are very expressive. So it's the vulnerability that some women have and that we all have in our own life that I try and promote in my work too. So you can see that people have vulnerability, even if they're you know, feeling horrible one day and they're being nasty, or, you know, there's things going on in their life. Everyone has vulnerability. So if you have that understanding of someone, you'll understand some of their reactions towards you or others or whatever else. So that's where you can find compassion, even though they're, you know, you don't like their behaviour. So the women in my work, I paint like they're quite angular or thin, or like they've got very expressive eyes. That's part of the reason why, is to show their vulnerability.
Beautiful. Yeah. And just talking about the mediums that you use, the predominantly oil paint. You also occasionally use sequins and gold leaf. Is that right? Yeah. Tell me about your medium.
Yeah, well, predominantly all the paintings are oil paintings, but I do add different mediums to them, and one is 24 karat gold, and that's not a painting process, it's actually a gilding process. So that's a different process altogether, but it's gilding 24 karat gold onto the canvas and then embedding sequins. So I embed sequins into the actual paint, so it becomes quite potential. I don't know whether you can see here, but all of that there is embedded into the actual paint. And what that does is create a different dimension to the painting. It creates reflection. And throughout the day, I want the paintings to be able to move with the different light that hits it all day, every day. And if it does that, then it's helping the painting stay alive. And I also believe with the reflections that it creates with all the different sparkles, or, you know, the different gold illumination, I really want someone to look at that painting and know that it's a reflection of them. So if you actually see the beauty in that reflection and that the magic that's going on in the painting, you're actually holding that beauty and magic within yourself, and that's the reflection. I want that to be the reflection of what someone is viewing my artwork. It actually comes from them, not the painting.
Yeah. Amazing. So where just got your studio in Symbolism, is your art anywhere else in Australia or the world where you find your work?
To purchase or to just look at?
Yeah.
No, I sell 100% of my artwork. Well, actually not 100%. 100% of my artwork mainly from the studio and from myself. I want to connect with the people that buy my work, and I want them to understand why I do what I do. And so that's why I've always done that. I won't go into a lot of galleries, because I find sometimes it's that disconnect that you're looking at a piece of artwork, but you don't really understand the artist or where the artist has come from. So being able to speak to an artist and really understand why they're doing what they're doing, you'll actually find a deeper connection with that artwork.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and because it's such story, like the story, you know, each painting has a story. It's a full book, really. That just adds to the depth of
yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, it's finding that the reason why that person painted in the first place is, you know, just makes it even more special.
Yeah. You have an online, you have a website that has artwork up on there?
Yeah, definitely. I've got a website. It's got most of my paintings on there. It doesn't have the stories, so you have to actually speak to me to find out the stories. But yeah, it's definitely got all the work up there.
Yeah, wonderful. And so, what's your vision? What do you see for yourself in the future, in the short coming future?
Well, I'm writing a book, so that will be a beautiful coffee table style book where you'll be able to view the painting as well as read the story, and it'll also have a little bit of history about where I've come from and why I do what I do, and give you a little more of an insight into the psyche of why I paint through the book. So, but you'll be able to read all the stories of each painting in the book. So I'm hoping to have about almost 100 paintings in this book.
Wow.
Oh wow, I can't wait to see Read that.
I hope that's next year.
Wonderful. Great project to have. Yeah. Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an exciting project that we've been working on for the last couple of years.
Yeah, make sure you stay in contact so we can promote that, because it sounds.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm hoping it will really touch a lot of people. Being able to have all of the stories is like, there's so many life lessons in all the stories. So hopefully it will help a lot of people just by reading the book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you quite the creative writer as well?
Well, ask one of my kids and they'll say, "Oh, Mum, where's your grammar?" I write like I speak, I think. So I do. It does need a little bit of editing every so often, but definitely creative writer. Yes, definitely, because I try and put down in words what I've created with paint. So they both have to be a creative version of each other.
So in actual fact, every painting that you have painted, as well as having the story, you're the story keeper, but it's actually written that story as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what the book will be.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So where is the ultimate happy place, Fiona?
My ultimate happy place, bare feet, walking along the sand, looking at the surf. I think that would be my one of my happy places, definitely.
Right.
Anything in nature. I just love being surrounded by things that ground me. Life can get a little bit hectic and a lot of energy around you that doesn't make you feel settled. As soon as I'm in nature, I feel completely grounded. So it really releases a lot of that energy and makes me happy.
And do you have a particular favourite season?
A favourite what, sorry?
Season?
Season. Oh, they all have such wonderful aspects. But I do love getting cozy in front of an open fireplace with a glass of red wine. So I'd probably say winter, and I would have to say autumn for the colour, because once autumn starts to come out, you just see so many amazing colours.
Which season are you most active in terms of putting paint to brush and brush to canvas?
What was the first bit?
Which season are you most productive as a painter?
Oh, most productive? It's a good question. I think I'm pretty productive all year round.
Yeah, beautiful.
Probably less so in the summer, because I find that I actually am talking to a lot more people in the summer.
Yeah, more external.
But yeah, I would say I'm pretty productive all year round. So probably not one season. Really. Yeah.
Different inspiration.
Yeah. I just see the world in a completely different way, I think, to everybody else. So I'm kind of like different aspects of the world, and the seasons, definitely, they really make a huge impact.
Yeah, well, that's our impetus at Shine Mind Body Spirit is the external environment are reflective of our internal environments and vice versa, and the connection to the environment and to season. Very helpful of where we're at, mentally, emotionally, and it's a great tool, really. Nature is a great tool in life to assist.
We need nature to survive.
Yeah. Reminding us all that there is that tool outside, and connecting to that makes sense of a lot.
And I try and promote that message in my work. That's what it's like, get back to nature, take your shoes off and walk in the dirt.
Yeah.
Nature would be number one inspiration then.
Sorry?
Nature would be your number one inspiration for your work overall.
Oh, by far. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And the different feelings that you have, like all the different experiences, life isn't easy. It's really difficult. And there's been so many things that create ups and downs in your life. And I just find that if you go back if I go back to nature, it really helps me find that grounding and make things, create things, put things into a better perspective. You are going through them. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Do we have any? We could go on for hours. Absolutely love chatting with you. Is there anything else to share with us before we wrap up that you feel is important for us in terms of intuitive creativity?
Honestly, I think the best thing anybody can do for themselves is actually listen to themselves, listen to their own heart. Don't, if you want to become an artist, you'll never find your artwork outside of yourself. It'll always be internal. Because it's actually just an expression of you, and always just remain true to who you are. It doesn't matter what that is. It's just being true to you, and don't let anybody else stop you doing that. That
Oh, beautiful parting words.
Yeah,
thank you so
beautiful.
much, Fiona. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to actually coming to Inverloch in January, Shauna and I. So we're going to pop in and say hello and see you. And
awesome. Love that.
Wine together.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
Have a beautiful Sunday, and we'll connect again soon.
Thanks, Fiona.
See you later. Bye.